Oh, there we go. Hey guys, welcome on back in to the channel. Of course, I am your favorite chart interpreter. And if you don't know who I am Faith. Of course, this is my channel, The Divine Faith. And as you can see, we talk about a whole bunch of stuff: astrology, numerology, fixed stars, planetary placements, etc., etc. Not to mention, I also do tarot videos and everything like that. I am definitely not a one trick pony. But I am going to load up some more stuff so that we can take a look at the charts that we're going to do today. The charts that we're going to look at, well, the chart that I'm going to look at is KeKe Palmer. That's going to be the first one that I'm going to take a look at. And then I did already run an event chart or a horary for Steve Harvey. And this whole rumor has been going around that Marjorie cheated on Steve with the bodyguard or something like that, and they're supposed to be getting a divorce. I don't necessarily know if I really believe that, but we're going to take a look at the horary and then we're going to move on from there. So, welcome to your brief intermission. All right, guys, I just wanted to pull up the charts and stuff like that so that we can see what we are working with. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to go ahead and get started. I am not going to spend a lot of time um, on these charts. That's why I kind of am doing like a 2 for 1 today. So I am going to save, the last part of my time to kind of look at the Harari chart when it comes to Steve Harvey. I will at some point, I don't know when, I will at some point circle back and do a chart, do Steve Harvey's natal chart or his composite chart with his wife Marjorie. It may end up being a composite chart reading as opposed to just a natal chart reading, but I'm still thinking about it. But both of them actually are on my list. So, of course, I will let you guys know. But this is where we're at. Okay. So I have KeKe Palmer's chart pulled up through the system Astro Charts. Okay. Now, in this particular system, it is saying that they don't have the best birth time for her. But you guys know when it comes to these particular things, we're just going to kind of like take it at it as is, okay? The biggest thing when it comes to birth time is like the degrees are the biggest thing when it comes to having your birth time correct. Because you know, you could be born at 12 a.m., but this in the system it may come across as 4 p.m. That's a huge difference when we're talking about ascendant. Your midhaven probably will be completely different. And probably your moon sign will be completely different. Okay. But like Saturn and the sun and probably Mercury and stuff like that, those planets tend to normally even still be in the same signs, even if the birth time isn't 100% correct. That's why whenever, the birth time isn't there, we can use like 12:30, which is the standard that I use, or you can use 12 p.m. because you'll have the gist of the degrees that you need. You just won't have the accuracy of the degrees when it pertains to houses. Okay, because the ascendant is on a degree, so is your second house, your third house, your fourth house, all the way around. All of those are on a particular degree and they all have meaning. Okay, so but for this particular instance, we're just going to take the chart as is and we're just going to read it as such. Okay, so you guys know we're going to start off here with the day that KeKe Palmer was born. I actually did do a small thread about this on my Twitter page whenever that whole viral situation happened when it pertained to her and Usher, because I kind of just wanted to see what is going to be the end of this particular scenario. And pretty much what I said is somewhat the end. And actually, while we're on that, I think I can probably um pull it up so that you guys can see what I was talking about. Because I was saying, just based off of the horary that I did and based off of the planetary hour during the time that went viral, I was kind of getting the fact that this was not really going to play out in KeKe Palmer's favor, possibly in a way that she thought. Even though she totally was excited about being noticed by Usher, I believe that she had like a crush on him or something of that magnitude, but I still felt that I don't necessarily see how this could work out in your favor. I mean, that was just my opinion on the matter. Okay, so hopefully it brings up on my, no, because I don't know how I can search on, I don't know how I can search on here, but I think I could do it this way. Come on. I think I can do it this way. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to share this tab so you guys can see uh, what I was thinking. Here it is. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is the initial post that I made when it comes to KeKe Palmer and the whole Usher situation. I'm about to look back here at my screen so I can make sure that you guys can see it. Okay, yeah. All right. So this is kind of like where I was coming from whenever the whole scenario went viral. So as you can see, my analysis here when it pertains to this whole situation was that the time period that she went viral with the whole Usher thing, it was during a moon hour. Now, I do have an app on my phone. It's called Planetaro, which it brings up all the planetary hours. Now, why are planetary hours important? Well, if you think about what each planet represents, okay? And then each hour on the clock is tied to that particular planet. Now, of course, it's going to change based off of the day. But depending on when certain thing, so in this instance, she went viral during a moon planetary hour. So did Usher. And what is the moon tied to? It's tied to mother, it's tied to womb, it's tied to women, it's tied to publicity. So I'm saying all that to say that you yourself can also plan things around planetary hours. For example, if you want to do a job interview, okay, if you want to set up a job interview, let's say they come to you and they're just like, hey, so and so, we really want to interview you. Let me know what are good times for you. Well, you can use this Planetaro app and you can set up your interview during Mercury times, because applying for jobs during Mercury hours, as well as I would say interviewing during Mercury hours, can be very beneficial to you. This is the whole point of this particular app. It's something that I just started to learn about and I'm still learning about now, but it's very beneficial. If you want to go viral, you need to be posting things during a sun hour. I believe Jupiter, Sun and Jupiter, I think would be good times for you to post if you want a good response. Well, good maybe, bad. I mean, it depends because it can go good or it can go bad, but nonetheless, you can still go viral. Okay. Um, and I've posted about planetary hours and stuff like that before, but it's really, really beneficial. Yeah. So, you guys can it's free. It's completely free. Okay. You guys know how I am. It's completely free. So it should be in the app store, rather that be for it should be on Android and Apple. Not sure. I have nothing but Apple products. Okay, so I know it's on Apple there for sure. But I put the name of the app in the chat so that you guys can. And I also put it on the screen if you can see it. Yeah, it's at the bottom. It's called Planetaro. Okay, and it has a picture of like a planet, and it's like it's like purple, pink, and white. Okay, hold on. Okay. So yeah, I put that in the chat so you can download it or whatever. So back to what I was talking about when it pertained to Kiki Palmer. Let me go back to my thing. Okay, so during the time period that whole situation went viral, it was a moon hour. So as you can see, I put down the moon is equal family, womb, the mother, but it's also tied to the public. Now, specifically, I went to Kiki Palmer's chart and I looked at her Sagittarius moon on the 26th degree. Now, I should have put this down whenever I was thinking about it because the 26th degree of Sagittarius, yes, it's a third decan, but the 26th degree of Sagittarius is a very creative degree. So I think I did mention it, but I should have said specifically that very likely this is likely setting them up for some sort of creative venture that they could possibly end up collaborating together. Now, I think collaboration is more so of a Aquarius type of thing, but it could be a moon thing as well if we're talking about collaboration. But if you guys go back and think about the Greek mythology story that we read about Artemis, nowhere in there did it say anything about her collaborating. For Artemis, moon god Artemis, it was more so like, me and nobody nobody else. So I don't really the moon may not really be a collaboration planet, but that's just me. I was thinking more so Aquarius. Okay. So to further continue with this, let me actually expand this so that I can go to the other stuff. Where anyway. There we go. So to continue with that, third deacon of Sagittarius, hopeless romantic, experiencing and meeting new people, impulsive. Okay. So already we could say with Kiki Palmer's moon being on Sagittarius, even though yes, it's on the 26th degree, which is creative. However, with it also being on the third deacon, we have a very impulsively creative person. And there's nothing wrong with that. But with that being said, it makes me think that this can be someone that can maybe even suffer or go through a lot of sorrow or maybe even a lot of depression for the sake of creativity. Because again, we know moon is tied to the public, right? So you can have this admiration, especially from women or people that write articles about her and what she's doing. So you can have this admiration from them in terms of them liking what she does. But internally speaking, it feels like it's very, very lonely. Okay. And that can be kind of dangerous, though, when you think about it. When you have someone where they have to spark things, they have to almost in a manner burn the building down for the sake of creativity. How is that sustainable? It may be sustainable maybe on like a money standpoint, but in terms of in terms of on an intellectual or emotional standpoint, I don't really see how that can be very sustainable. Mercury retrograde is definitely here. I feel like I can't talk. But we move, okay? But anyway, to continue with this, so with her moon, specifically her Sagittarius, to continue with this, I said, she may just want to feel romance or warmth, okay? And maybe the other person, which would be her boyfriend, is super conservative, which I will show you in her chart where I was kind of getting that super conservative type of energy. Okay, so her Mars, which we're actually going to talk about that. So I'm not going to go super, super, super all the way in depth here because I wrote a whole thread about this, and you guys can go on my Twitter and you can look at it because there's some good stuff there. But yeah, so I kind of just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a idea of where I was coming from when it pertains to that. So now let's go back over to her chart. Where'd it go? Okay, here we go. Here we are, back to her chart. So KeKe Palmer is born on the 26th. Okay, we know that she's a Virgo. Okay, that's fine. But let's take a look specifically at the day that she was born. She was born on let's say a Saturn day, because we need to break down the number 26 to a single digit if we're talking about numerology terms. This is completely different from life path numbers. Do not get it confused. I know about life path numbers. Life path numbers are very generically easy to me. Okay. I want to get to the meat and the potatoes, because even some people's life path number, they're kind of just like, it doesn't really relate. Okay. I don't really want to talk about life path numbers. What I'm doing is something that fits for me based off of how I see things. Okay. I'm not saying that this is the norm. Okay. So for my own interpretation and my own, let's say, quote unquote theory, I just break down the number of the day that people are born. And that gives me a footprint. That gives me somewhat of a foundation for me to kind of like build off of when it comes to their chart. So Saturn, that's where we need to go to. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Saturn, okay, because number 8 is tied to the planet of Saturn if we go to our astrology and our numerology guide, which I'm going to share with you guys in just a second. Okay, so here's where we at on our astrology, our numerology guide. Okay, we need to go down here. 8 is tied to Saturn, of course, in numerology, but also 8 has a Leonian undertone. So we know Leo likes power. We know Leo likes gold. We know Leo likes entertainment. Okay. Of course, we know Leo, the lion, likes to roar, likes to be a little bit ferocious, but it doesn't have to be an actual roar. It could just be as simple as Leo wants to be heard, or Leo wants to be seen, or both. Okay. Two things can be true. So as you can see here, the highlights here with the number 8 is karmic or karma. We have power, which I was talking about before. We have passion. We have charm. We have organization, and we have strength. And that could be another thing too, when it pertains to Leos. That wherever we could say, maybe wherever their sun is or wherever planet it is, that could be where they specifically feel like they need to show their strength. So, with us, hold on, I'll move this down. So, with us talking about the number 8 here and with it being tied again to the energy of Leo, let's go back to KeKe Palmer's chart. And before we go a little bit further, let's actually take a look at where her sun is at, because the sun rules over Leo. Okay. We all know that that's basic stuff. We know the sun is like the brightest star in the solar system. Nobody can really outshine the star. I mean, but speaking of power and strength, we could go with this in terms of where does KeKe Palmer feel like she needs to show her strength? Well, she has her sun in the second house. Now, the second house, of course, is about finance. It is about possessions, okay, or possessiveness because it does sit opposite the eighth house, which is Scorpio's house. But we also know the second house is about accumulating assets or just assets, period. But another thing about the second house is it is the house where we find our self worth. So we could say for her, and this could just be something that she may end up dealing with over the duration of her life. This could be something where she feels like she needs to show her strength in the area when it pertains to her self worth. Now, this may be specifically tied to the father, whether there or not there, because it does look like her son actually does sit opposite her Saturn. So, even with that being said, remember when we talked about the Greek mythology story of was it Zeus or Apollo? I can't remember. Or simply just a matter of Kronos, who is Saturn. Remember we talked about how Kronos pretty much ate all his children because he did not want to be dethroned. The prophecy came and said, "You're going to get overthrown." So to stop that, he said, "Okay, well, I'm just going to eat all my children because that just cannot happen." So, I mean, you can imagine the daddy issues that would come from a child where, you live through this and then you are informed that, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but your father ate you because he was threatened by the fact that you were going to overthrow him. So, like I said, I mean, there may be some sort of power dynamics or improper power dynamics in a way when it pertained to father and the imprint that father had on her self worth. Because I mean, maybe this is just me in my opinion on this matter, but when it pertains to women or when it pertains to little girls, the impression that a little girl has on her father, especially starting off quite young, is a very powerful one. Because when you think about it, that's pretty much in a way that could be like the first man that you really love because that is your father. Whether it's a terrible relationship or it's a good relationship, that in a way can set the foundation. So who knows what type of foundation was set when we're talking about father dynamics? Was the balance of power improper when it pertained to father? Was father being overbearing? Was father being very harsh? Was father possibly being, who knows, jealous? Because let's not sit up here and pretend like parents can't be jealous of their children. We see it every day. It probably happens more times than people are willing to admit, but it's very hidden. So for her, she possibly may feel that she needs to find her strength when it comes to her self worth. Now, that's just based off of the sun, okay? And not to mention, if you also have a dynamic where father wasn't necessarily in the home, or there's a dark side of the father, who knows, it could be, it could be alcoholic, it could be doesn't have to be so, harsh, it could be anything, why a father's presence was not really there like it could have been. So then it turns into a situation where for her, again, with the sun being in the second house, how she may even try to take on the burden of that, of feeling like, okay, I need to be the one in a sense to kind of like act like the father and bring our family out of poverty, or make our family money, whatever the situation could be. So it kind of feels like maybe even definitely making a child grow up way faster than what they need to be. It comes to a point where it's just like, when can I have a childhood? Now, this may have totally been something that maybe she possibly wanted to do. Who knows? But it does feel like it could have possibly been a very heavy burden for a child to carry so early on. I get the point. You have to work, but okay, whatever. But anyway, so moving forward. So back to our astrology in our numerology guide. Okay. So to continue forward with this number 8 energy, and we're actually going to look at her Saturn in a second, because her Saturn, again, since it is tied to the number 8, that is the blueprint a little bit to me as well when it pertains to somewhat of like her foundation. Okay, so to continue with this number 8 energy, the challenges here we have are bullying, abuse, rigid, vanity. So the bullying doesn't mean that she is the perpetrator. Okay. She could absolutely be the victim. But then, because of said bullying, allegedly, if that even happened, or allegedly abuse, if that even possibly happened, you may have a person that turns to material possessions back here, second house sun. You may have someone who turns to material possessions, which then brings out the very vanity part of them, because either they're trying to prove something, and very likely it could just lie with they're trying to prove something to people, whatever that could be. But a lot of it could be, you know I mean, if you've ever been bullied, you know that feeling. It's not fun. You start to question yourself, and it's just like, wow, why am I having to go through this? I really don't understand, especially under the guise of, if you're trying to make friends. You trying to make friends, you want friends, and then boom, you run into the wall of bullying. It's irritating. Okay. But going back to our guide, okay. So again, vanity, rigidity, abuse, bullying. So what's the lesson here? The lesson, when it pertains to people being born on an 8-day, okay, or very Saturnian ruled. So when I talk about Saturnian rule, it could be Saturn on the ascendant, or it could just be you have like a lot of aspects connecting to your Saturn, or you may have a lot of Saturnian degrees in your chart. That would make one, I would say, very Saturnian ruled. Okay. But the in so I'm gonna kick his ass, slamming the door. Oh my god. I'm gonna deal with him when I get finished with this. But anyway, so 8 days. Uh, People born on the 8th, of course, born on the 26th. So what's another 8 day? The 17th, the 23rd. No, 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 no. I can't think of another 8 day, but so far 8, 17, 26. That may just be it. Okay. So people born during those particular days are, like I said, heavy Saturnian ruled, etc., etc. The lessons here that they need to figure out within themselves at some particular point: learn how to find your inner strength instead of using others to fight your battles, which maybe in some sort of way, this may have possibly just happened when it pertained to the whole situation with her boyfriend. So the whole finding your inner strength instead of using others to fight your battles, what if in a way it could have been maybe using the power of social media, or just using the power of womanhood, or just using the power of, publicity period, to get a message across to your partner, because they're not understanding you. You're feeling, of course, unheard. B, or whatever C could be. So that can still count as using others to help fight your battles, because you may struggle to get your point across in the way that you would like. So then you may go to doing something extreme, which is manipulative. Well, I'm just going to be honest about it. It is manipulative. What's the other thing? Stand up to things by simply being yourself. Now, this particular sentence may just go back to me talking about somebody having to possibly deal with bullying, having to possibly deal with abuse, or any things like that. So, if you've dealt with that so much, you may get into an energy where you don't really know how to stand up to things by just being yourself. It's almost like that person in school where, shoot, they tell one joke and people laugh, and now all of a sudden they think they're a comedian. So then they feel like that has to be their entry point into making friends, or being a part of the group. They have to forcefully throw out a joke, and it's like, bro, you don't have to do that every time. You could just simply just be yourself. So, you may have somebody who is like that, where they're using comedy, or they're possibly using cringe moments, as a way to, I don't know, find their, or as a way to get a reaction, as a way to get things, because they're afraid to simply just be themselves. Now, since, let me go back here, since she has her Saturn in the eighth house, she may feel that she can't really be herself when it pertains to intimacy, sexuality, or just when it pertains to, you know, partnerships. Because we know the eighth house is other people's resources, and this is normally the house where you can see like combined assets when it pertains to like being married or being a long-term partnership or anything of that nature. Okay. But anyway, so let's go and study a little bit of her Saturn in the eighth house for Aquarius. Okay. Now we know Saturn is at home in Aquarius, and by the way, she she is just now finishing up her Saturn return. So I believe 92, 93 babies should be just now finishing up their Saturn return. So they should be feeling, let's say, a little bit lighter, maybe. Okay. Now, let me go back because I lost my train of thought because, trying to not reel in the chaos, but these, the light of my life, they are something else, I tell you. Anyway, so let's go take a look at the degree of her Saturn in the eighth house on Aquarius. Now, remember, we're talking about her Saturn specifically, and her Saturn is retrograde. So, remember, I talked about, the dynamic when it pertains to father. We don't necessarily know what that's about, but she does have Saturn retrograde. So, we could have some issues when it pertains to her father. And again, just because you have issues with your father, don't necessarily mean your father wasn't there. But also at the same time, just because your father is there in the room doesn't mean that your father is there for you emotionally or mentally speaking. So he may as well not be there. Okay. That happens a lot. Dad's in the home, but he may as well not be there because he don't do shit, you know? But anyway, let's go take a look at the degree of her Saturn. It's on 26 degrees Aquarius. Let me go to my, I think I already had this up, so I'm not really sure why I opened up another tab, but either way. Okay, so the 26 degrees of Sagittarius says possession, good, patriot, frank, humane, readiness, homely, house proud. Now, weren't we just talking about that? I just said that since she has her Saturn in the eighth house, and I talked about that, little bit of manipulation tactics to kind of like get your point across when it pertains to intimacy or when it pertains to your partner, but you're doing it in a very extreme way. The degree of her Saturn Aquarius pretty much says the same thing what I was saying, you know, possession or possessive, homely, house proud. But I also talked about possessions anyway with her son being in the second house. Because remember, I was saying, where does she try to find her strength? Well, she tries to find her strength in her self worth. However, she may deal with possessive partners, or she herself may be the possessive partner. But it could be something that we won't really be able to get a 100% fact on because of the house that her Saturn is in. Her Saturn is in the eighth house. It's not a very public house. It's very private, or at least it should be very private. But, you know how it goes these days. Everybody feels like they have to share every aspect. It's almost like people feel like they have to share every house with the public, which why I don't know. But nonetheless. Okay. So, let me actually go here. Where was I going next? Oh. Let's see if she has any fixed stars conjunct her Saturn. So we're going to move over to this tab here. Okay. Um, where is it? Aquarius, right? Yeah. Okay. What was it? 26 degrees. Yes, this one would be exact conjunct. Uh-huh. Soar to great heights, potential of sudden downfall. Now, just because it says potential, it doesn't mean that it is 100% going to happen. It could, but again, with her Saturn being in this, not that's the wrong house, with her Saturn being in this particular house where it deals with, joint finances, joint resources, deals with sex, intimacy on that particular type of level. Again, fifth house is my one night stand type of energy. Yes, it's about sex, but it doesn't really give me that long lasting stuff. Okay. This is where you want to go for your intimacy, right? Smack dab here in your eighth house. Okay. So we could say her partners may be her downfall. And maybe in some sort of a way, her eighth house or her Saturn in this sense, maybe it's somewhat of like a blind spot. Okay. But on the other end, if we're talking about working, Saturn in the eighth house can produce somebody who can be very patient, economical, as well as hardworking. So, you know, there's no issue there when it comes to her accumulating money. But I mean, again, she's probably been accumulating money in that regard since she was quite young. Um, I mean, it would probably be during a second, whatever age is ruled by a second house year. And I think I have a chart in my phone about that actually. So she could have started making money, decent money, let's say that, at 2 or 14. It could have been as early as that. Whereas, like, at 2 years old, you or me, we're just now, we're getting the taller twos, terrible twos. We're just doing whatever. We ain't worried about no working, you know. Or even at 14, that's whenever you're really delicate because you're moving into that time period of going into high school. So it goes back to what I was talking about before, not really having much of a childhood as we would, you know, picture a childhood, if that makes sense. But maybe for her, it's just like, oh, it's no big deal. But it gives me very Saturnian, again, like I said. All right. So another thing as well with that degree that we were talking about, maybe she could be a little bit more of a homebody than what people think. And this maybe in some sort of manner could also cause some issues, or maybe I see it possibly cause of issues, because if in at her core, if in her nature she is could be more introverted, or she is somebody who is more so like, I'm good being at home, I'm good with working at home. Like, KeKe Palmer gives me that vibe, like she is the director, she is that person behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure she definitely is a director, but you get the point. That feels more so like her lane, because the director, they just are giving everybody else orders, and they're organizing things, they're doing all this, they're not in your face. So if she is trying to force her intimacy or her sexuality on the public, I think that's a bad thing, because it's not going to land like she thinks it's going to land. It may for some time, but the the facade is going to fade because people are going to start to see that ain't you. You know how you see some people and they just ooze sex appeal? They don't even got to try. And no offense to her. It's just not giving. It's not giving. And that's okay. It's not meant for everybody to do that. It's fine. Enforcing that is just going to be more dangerous, I feel like, for you, for yourself in the long run. And if it was me, if I was her, or if I was giving her advice, I would just be like, no, I get the point that you want to, you are trying to find your self worth. You're trying to dive into that power of yours that you really want to feel. And you really just want to be in a place with yourself where you're just okay and happy with yourself. But the way you're going about it, I don't necessarily feel like it's going to land the way you want it to land. She just doesn't give me sex appeal. That's just my opinion. And I'm not saying has nothing against her looks or anything, because you can see it. You can see people who are beautiful, but they just don't give you sex appeal. They're beautiful, or like Southern Belle or something, but they don't give off that sex appeal. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's a good example? Angelina Jolie. Okay, I mean, she's got it. That's You're born with that. I don't think that's something that you can just take all these classes for and you kind of get. I think you're just born with it. It just oozes from your pores. It's okay. Everybody don't got it. But that, maybe that's just my opinion about the matter. I can't think of anybody else. I mean, there's a few. that kind of ooze it. There is I had one on my mind, but it left a blank. It'll come back to me. Anyway, so where was I at? Oh yeah. I was talking about Saturn in eighth house, yada yada. So let's now, since we've kind of like looked at her Saturn and stuff like that, let's go on over to her moon. Okay, we know moon is tied to personality. We know that. Okay, so let's take a look at where her moon is at. Now, I already kind of like talked about it a little bit. Her moon is in Sagittarius, is on the third degree, the third decan of Sagittarius, which is an impulsive one. So remember, I said she can be creatively impulsive, but that probably has worked out really well for her. Okay. Now, let's take a look. Now, since she has her moon in the sixth house, it is in a Jupiter ruled sign. Okay, Sagittarius, and moon's dispositor. So whenever I talk about moon's dispositor, what I'm saying is we have moon in Sagittarius, and we know Sagittarius natural planet ain't, it's not the moon. It's naturally tied to Jupiter. So the moon's dispositor, the moon in Sagittarius dispositor would be J- um, Jupiter in Libra. And I've seen Jupiter in Libra make larger than life celebrities or larger than life personalities, which would bode well when it pertains to the public. I think Michael Jackson has Jupiter in Libra. I think I think Cardi B has Jupiter in Libra. Donald Trump, I think, has Jupiter in Libra. There's a couple more big, that have Jupiter in Libra. Okay. So either way, with her moon being in the sixth house, okay, um, this position can make one a liability to chronic pulmonary affections. And this is if it's in a mutable sign, which Sagittarius is a mutable sign. But outside of that, okay, is it afflicted by Mercury? No, it's actually in good position when it pertains to Mercury. But we know that the sixth house is tied to service, right? We also know the sixth house normally, naturally, is this house that is situated for Virgo. We know that Virgonian, however you want to say it, energy can be that of like the perfectionist. It could be a little bit of a health fanatic in a way. Um, but also what else was it with Virgo? I think it was law. What else was with Virgo? Oh, healing, writing, service, specialist, expert, law. Okay. I wonder if Sagittarius is tied to motion pictures, because if Sagittarius is tied to motion pictures, then that would make sense where she would become an expert when it pertains to motion picture things. I'm actually checking the book of rulership now to see if it is motion pictures or movies, I should say. Um, where is it? Movies. Where is it? Motion pictures Aquarius or aka Saturn. So yes, aka Saturn, also Leo, um Venus, and I think Jupiter. Motion pictures or documentaries are Jupiter. So, speaking of that, I don't know if she's been in documentaries, or this may even possibly be the next thing that she could be coming into more now that she's kind of like getting out of her Saturn return. We may start to see her either producing more documentaries about whatever it could be, or you may see her being, I guess, called up or cast in more movies when it pertains to documentaries. And I only brought up Saturn because her Saturn is in Aquarius, which is actually tied to the actor as well as the author. But also her Aquarius Saturn is making an aspect or a, so it should be a sextile to her moon. Okay, so it's no surprise that motion pictures or acting was the thing. Aquarius is the musician, but in my opinion, I would say acting is probably the one that's better suited for her than the music is okay, but again, something about it is not landing like it could for her. somebody else, it probably lands no problem. But when it pertains to her, it's just not landing. And maybe it's one of those things. Maybe for her, it's just fun. But a part of me feels like maybe she really did want to break waves or make a buzz in a way when it pertains to being a musician, but it just wouldn't land. She has practiced, she has, in a way, perfected that actor side of her, which is what is working. So, of course, you have to stick with what works. Don't be getting, crazy about it now and just like, okay, maybe I will finally get it when it pertains to music. I'm not, I just don't get that. I mean, it could be something maybe definitely for fun, for fun, for fun. But in terms of that taking precedent over acting, I just don't see that happening, in my opinion. And that's okay. That's okay. Um, hopefully she's not trying to what is it called? Being a jack of all trades, a master of none. Don't turn into that. Don't start moving away from what is working, what is really working. I don't see her doing that, but you never know. Whenever one goes through their Saturn return, they may make a 180 and they're doing something completely different. And you're just like, why would you do that? Because you moved away from something that was working. You never know how Saturn return is gonna happen. You just never know. But anyway, so let's see if there's any fixed stars that are conjunct her moon. Now remember, your moon is tied to your publicity. So we know since her moon is on a creative type of degree, um, you know, of course the public sees her as very creative. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But let's see what fixed star is on her moon. I would guess in this instance, in some sort of way, maybe she gets irritated from feeling like that she still is put in the background. But that goes back to what I was saying, that I feel like that she gives me very director, like Steven Spielberg, Quentin Tarantino, um, Michael Bay. I mean, honestly, if she really put stock into that and let go of all this BS and all this other stuff and stop trying to move around in a way where it's not really you, I could see her being on that type of level. I really could. But she has to see that. Okay? But anyway, she does have, I would say, 3 fixed stars on, maybe 4 actually. We have Lisith, Shula, Galactic Center, and Edaman. So she has 4 fixed stars exact. Well, not really exact, but they're right on her moon. So let's start with Lisith. Scorpion Sting. Danger, desperate. See, I thought about it. Danger, desperation, immorality, connected with acid, poisons, accidents, catastrophes. Shula, same thing. Aids victory in sieges, destruction of seafarers and captives, exorcism, mesmerism. She hasn't played any horror movies, has she? I don't think so. Spiritual pressure towards enlightenment. It almost makes me think of like somebody's mom who's a pastor. Ooh, can you imagine that dark cloud that's hanging over you because your mom is a pastor or heavy in the church? Like, no offense to you, mom, but just go ahead and adopt me out because I don't really want to. I don't want to deal with this. And then we have a galactic center, a vast black hole at the center of our galaxy, source of energy, motivation, I talked about that anyway. Alien consciousness, that is so interesting. How I think didn't she do a movie somewhat kind of like about alien consciousness? If she did, that just adds up with it being smack dab on top of her moon. Um, wasn't that movie the movie that Jordan Peele did with her in it? Wasn't that, I didn't see it, but I'm assuming it probably was about aliens or something like that. If it was, that was like perfect for her with it being smack dab on her um Sagittarius moon. Travel, education, philosophy, spiritual urges, single-minded dedication, and then we have Edaman liking solitude. good concentration, dishonor, downfall, loss of prestige, esoteric and philosophical studies. That's the only thing that I worry about when it pertains to KeKe Palmer. The downfall will come from you're trying to force yourself out of a bubble that you don't need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, trying to force yourself to be somebody that you're not. But this also could just be a matter of you just trying to go through and figure out who you are. And that's fine. That's cool. For some reason, the word androgynous keeps coming through. I wouldn't really consider her androgynous, but who knows? Or what's the word of what's the label? What is it called? Whenever you like people, doesn't matter the gender, male or female, it doesn't matter, but you're like attracted to like their brain or something. Help me out. I can't think of the word. I cannot think of the freaking word. What is the word? There you go. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Um Pansexual. Yes. I don't know if she is pansexual, but for some reason when it comes to KeKe Palmer, because I keep talking about she's just trying to figure out like who she is, because again, her power or maybe even her karma is going to come from second house things because that's where her son is at if I'm tying it to her being born on the 26th day. So that's where she is going to have some hiccups, which could result in her downfall if she is not careful. You don't have to force it. It's almost like in a manner when you're trying to force a relationship with someone and they're adamant about them not wanting a relationship with you. Every time you force it, you're just diminishing your self worth every single time. Every single time to the point where you look up and you don't know who you are because you spent so much time trying to force something that clearly wasn't for you. And that is my fear when it pertains to her. You're going to force it so much that, not saying you're going to be left with nothing, but it's going to come to a point where people are just going to find you absolutely cringe to the point they're going to stop paying attention to you. So, again, in my opinion, if she does it right, I can absolutely see her making big waves when it pertains to being a producer or excuse me, a director. I can really see her doing that. Maybe when she gets much older and she goes through, cuz maybe, you know, even though she went through her Saturn return, maybe she ignored her lessons during her Saturn return, you know what I'm saying? So it maybe she didn't really have to sit with herself and, sift through all these things when it pertains to self-worth and possessiveness and dealing with people that are possessive of you, etc., etc. Maybe she kind of like ignored those lessons, so it wouldn't surprise me if those lessons started to come even after her Saturn return is over. Because at the end of the day, you may run, you may hide, but Saturn always comes to collect. So you might as well just deal with it. Saturn literally reminds me of that father where they're just like, just go ahead and deal with the consequences. Just go ahead and get it over with. Okay, you got in trouble. Go ahead and deal with the consequences. That way, this don't have to drag on. That is Saturn is in a nutshell. But a lot of people are fearful of consequences. They don't want to deal with consequences because consequences makes you uncomfortable, but consequences makes you responsible for your actions. A lot of people avoid that. And I can see this as being something where when people go through their Saturn return, it's literally the same thing. If you've been avoiding the consequences, if you've been avoiding who knows your karma or working through your karma or work or whatever, finding your strength, if you've been avoiding that, okay, you might get a little bit of a breather for a couple years, but the next Saturn return, it may end up being worse. So why not just go ahead and deal with it? You know, um, I mean, she did have a baby during, we would say probably during her Saturn return, so that doesn't really shock me either. It happens a lot, actually. I'm curious though, her baby may be the only child. Maybe. But nonetheless, I mean, it's still good. Motherhood is beautiful if you want it to be. It is if you want it to be, because it's up to you what you want. Anyway, oh, my thing fell off. So, that might be, and then plus, what is her real name? Lauren. Okay, what is L? Because I like to look at the first initial of the name so we can kind of see like what kind of direction we're going in when it pertains to like career or maybe just life in general. Her first initial is L. So Lauren is L is tied to Pisces, tied to Jupiter, which rules over the subconscious, psychological issues, and secrets. Uh-huh. And her Jupiter is in the fourth house. So um hmm. I don't know, man. As I said, I don't know if she is going to have more. I mean, maybe. But, anyway, so she has Jupiter in Libra. So what is Libra tied to? Libra is the diplomat, the consultant, the fashionista, I guess, the lawyer, or tied to law, beauty, cosmetics, public relations, the advisor, and advertisement. And she has it opposite her Aries midhaven in the fourth house. So, what is the fourth house? What is that? Asset management, real estate. So, for her, so I would say in terms of like career path or where she's at in regards to her career, or if this is the right career for her, I would say yes, it's the right career for her. That's why it's working so well. That's why she's able to build, and she's going to keep expanding because Jupiter's in the fourth house. And naturally, the fourth house is tied to Cancer. And we know Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So it's going to keep expanding, which is, well, it should keep expanding. Let me say that. Because if she screws around and she gets too fixated on this whole I need to find myself path, she could be going into troubled waters where people are going to start rolling their eyes. So, maybe take it down a notch. But I really think she is a homebody. She's probably a tomboy. She's probably where she should be. Like, is given very like sneakers and stuff like that because, even though Libra is tied to fashion, what if she's kind of uncomfortable in that type of clothing? You see, and if you're uncomfortable in that type of clothing, why are you forcing it? You find fashion that fits who you are. This is my opinion. But anyway, let's look at her Jupiter at 14 degrees, and I think the 14th degree is actually a Libra degree. No, it's Taurus, well, Venus degree, so almost close to the same thing. So let's take a look at that degree, and then I'll look and see about the whole Steve Harvey stuff. So Libra 14 degrees. Ooh, no bueno. Untrustworthy, duplicity, joyous spirit, self-indulgence, troubled marriage. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Oh, KeKe Palmer. I think, and honestly, I don't think the untrustworthy thing is actually too far fetched. I think the untrustworthy thing could go in terms of when it pertains to, um, well, could be partners, maybe, or it could be, shoot, it could be maybe really just bad advice, maybe in a way, like one of those things where, because we know Libra is the consultant, right? So that's why I was getting like bad advice in a way. It kind of gives me that energy of somebody where they are like the public speaker or they're like the preacher and they're preaching all this and they're telling you that you should follow the Bible and they're not even following the Bible. It could be one, so I hate to say it, a hypocrite. But aren't we all hypocrites in our own way? Yes. Um some hypocritical ways are worse than others, but it kind of does give me a hypocritical nature in that way. Like you're preaching philosophy, you're preaching certain things, maybe even preaching living a certain way, maybe even preaching when it pertains to self-worth, self-value, and you don't even believe that. You don't even practice that. That's when hypocriticalness can be very detrimental because she has a following. So it's not like me when, I can be like hypocritical and just be like, or say, yeah, I'm gonna be done with YouTube for forever, and you guys see me a month later. Who gives a shit about that? That ain't that big of a deal. I just had it's not really having a moment at that time. You're just like, I really don't feel like doing it. That's something that's completely harmless. But in her instance, it can definitely do a lot of harm in a way, if that is the case, because it also is making an aspect again to her midhaven, which is tied to the public. And that is the concern. Okay. She has Mars at fall in Libra. Okay. And her Mars is in close conjunction with Jupiter. I don't know, if I was her, I don't even know, she may not really want to be married. So if a lot of people are giving her flack about being married, she may be somebody who does not want to be married at all. Okay. um to me, in a way, your fourth house is real, even though your moon is your personality, but your fourth house is really how you coming to me when it pertains to who you are, because that is like your roots, that's on the ground. I think that could be considered your root chakra, who you are at the core. So maybe in some sort of manner she is a little bit untrustworthy, or she could be maybe a little bit self-loathing. She could be possibly a little bit administrative, and administrative could be good, it could be bad depending on the context. Okay. um Again, you may preach all this stuff about, girl, don't settle, but you're settling. That is dangerous because, again, like I said, you have a following. So people hear that, and then you're not even really living how you say you living. You telling people to do better for themselves, choose better for themselves, and you are choosing shitty partners that probably don't respect you, because Mars is what you're attracted to. So you're attracted to the exterior, you're not attracted to the interior. And you may even end up being attracted to people who may use you for a career, but yet you are aware that they are using you for a career. You see how hypocritical that is? So, I mean, I guess it is what it is. Actually, let's look at her Libra, Mars. Well, it's in detriment, let's say that, not at fall. Um, Libra 9 degrees, tendency for spinal problems, unfortunate marriage, loss of partner through death. See, it's unfortunate across the board. So, mm-mm. Unfortunate for marriage. But that tendency for spinal problems kind of makes me think of you lack a spine when it possibly pertains to fourth house matters. See, these are houses that we do not see. Fourth house, eighth house, we cannot see those houses. Those are houses that are very personal to you. 4, 8, 12, very personal to you. We ain't supposed to see those matters. So, nah, okay. That's where I'm at on the situation. Nothing too crazy. Um, oh, okay. Thank you, Jasmine. I had no idea that she didn't want to get married. So it's weird because with her not wanting to be married, it's like this weird thing where she may be attracted to very traditional partners who want that type of woman. Why? Why? It doesn't track. So even though Keke Palmer is a Virgo, it's given very Gemini. You're coming across very Gemini in nature, even though you don't have a single Gemini placement. um. So yes, just me to answer your question. Yes, 4, 8, 12. Those, to me, those are very private sectors of a chart. Places where I feel like that not a lot of people are supposed to know. So like this whole thing that's going on where everybody seems to be knowing who you're sleeping with, why? I don't know why that is even a thing. It's almost like you're destroying like your eighth house. Why? Even when it pertains to your 12th house. If you have a dream about somebody, why the hell are you going to tell them about the dream? You're screwing with your 12th house. Keep it to yourself. Your fourth house, when it pertains, you know how they talk about old people always say, be mindful of who you invite in your home? Again, is your home is your fourth house. Why do you think they say that? Because it's supposed to be your safe haven. It's supposed to be a very private sector of your life. Why the hell are you having house party after house party after house party after house party? Burn the house down or move. Because ain't no way in hell you can live here and be sane anymore. You've let too many people into your fourth house. 4812. I said it years back and I'm saying it again. And I said this about 4812 whenever I wasn't even very knowledgeable that much about astrology. I said it back then when I was just studying about the tarot. 4812, those houses, keep the shit to yourself. I don't need to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. It's weird because the other day I was telling someone, I said, sex just seems like a very weird concept to me, only because, again, of me studying the eighth house, and you realize how in depth and how intimate the eighth house is. It's a very weird concept how you kind of like become something or you become someone else whenever you're in that particular house's energy. So I always say that, like, it's just weird to me. So why would you want to share that with anybody? It should only be meant to be shared. It should only be meant to be shared with someone that you can trust. And a lot of you are destroying your eighth house because you're sleeping with people you don't even trust. I digress. Or you're trying to be friends with everybody like that, and you don't even, you probably have like a whole bunch of hidden enemies for the sake of having all these friends. You're screwing with your 12th house. And the 12th house to me is very powerful. So is the eighth house, so is the fourth house. You're screwing with yourself. I don't got to do anything to ruin it. You're ruining yourself doing stupid stuff. um, but anyway, so that is KeKe Palmer's chart. So we have a, again, like one of her degrees said, it's a duplicity when it pertains to her. And now that we kind of, or I took a look at the chart, I can kind of see where that is coming from. There is a duplicity here when it pertains to her, and she's going to ruin it for herself if she keeps pushing this idea of, I need to be someone else. But you don't, if you're a homebody, if you are homebound, if you're homely, or if you're one of those type of people, stop trying to force yourself out of your shell to be sexy. It ain't given. I'm sorry, it's not. It ain't for everybody. Okay, some people have it, some people don't. Focus on what you have, don't focus on what you don't. Okay. um but I'm telling you, if she decides to do and get into her director bag, I probably may go to every single movie because I know it's going to be good because I feel like she has it in her. But it doesn't matter how much you see the potential in other people, they have to see that within themselves, and that's just my opinion. So let's move on to Steve Harvey. um oh, okay, is it sapiosexual? Either way, thank you guys. Sapio, pansexual, doesn't matter. But I think she's one of those. That's my opinion. So I'm gonna take a look at the horary when it pertains to Steve Harvey. Now, again, this is an event chart. It's just focused on the planets and time. Whenever I ask the question, so I asked the question on, are like the rumors true? Pretty much, Steve Harvey. What can you tell us? So let me share the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So here is the, oh, look at all those grand trines. Woo! There's a lot of money on the board because look, it's all connected in Earth. Oh boy. Okay. Okay. So, since of course Steve Harvey is a person I do not know, I'm going to assign him the seventh house lord or the seventh house ruler. Okay. And this is in regards to the rumors being true. Now, of course, we know he is married. So I need to look at the seventh house ruler, which is, we know Taurus, its ruler is Venus. So right now, Venus is in Leo. Okay. And Venus is what? It's in retrograde motion. Now, I think Venus is about to get out of retrograde motion maybe before this month is over, or is about to in September, but it is soon. Okay. So let's take a look at where he's at right now. Now, he's in the ninth house. So this could be, now, I don't know if they are in like marriage counseling, but already we may have Steve Harvey, who is a fan of marriage counseling, or that may possibly be where he's going to. And it could be a pastor, because the ninth house is very spiritual. Okay. Godlike complex is there. So I could kind of like see pastors and preachers kind of like possibly being there, possibly. Um, so there may be like a pastor or a preacher or something like that that maybe he is consulting with, or again, maybe they're in couples therapy or marriage counseling in some sort of a way to go back over old issues that were never resolved. And also in some sort of a way, maybe Steve Harvey's life is kind of slowing down. So, whenever you're go, 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 you really don't have time to think about the mundane things. You don't really have time to really think about what's going on in your personal life, because you're just so consumed with business. We know Leo, of course, is about um power, in my opinion, since we're talking about Venus retrograde. If this is true, I don't know yet. This kind of feels like this is not the first time around the merry-go-round that these two have possibly talked about divorce. But maybe Steve doesn't want to give her one, or maybe she doesn't want to go. They could trade off. It could be at one point she doesn't want to go, and then it may switch off to where he is like, I don't want to give it. I don't want to give you one. Um, because I think loss through marriage, I think, is actually found in the sixth house, or sixth house lord. Okay. So I think this actually just, speaking of sixth house lord, well, I need to count six from him, and then we'll see if that connects. But let's first look at the um where is it? Let's first look at the degree of his the Venus, okay? So Venus on 13 degrees Leo says literature, aimlessness, small recourses, inventive, evil conditions. Now we know Venus is normally tied to the wife, right? So, oh crap. On that note, we also may be, since we're talking about evil conditions, he also may be in a time where he's starting to see the person that he married. And some of you, whether you've been married or you've been in relationships, you know what that feels like. When you start to finally see the person that you have dedicated or spent your life to, and all these other great things, the picture is not so pretty. So, in a way, where Steve Harvey is at right now, even if we possibly take Marjorie off of the board, he could also just be in a period of time right now where the evil conditions, he could be feeling that way when it possibly pertains to certain friends. Who knows if he went through some sort of betrayal when it pertains to a friend, a publicist, or anything of that nature. So now that he is slowing down, because he ain't getting younger, he's getting older, and stuff is starting to awaken to you that you missed over all these years. So for him, he may be in a particular instance where he may feel like either the world is against him, the world is attacking him, he's under attack, or he could just be in a period of time where he's starting to see the true faces of this society that you signed up to be in. Even though he's trying to maintain his faith, but he also may be feeling like my faith is being tested. Now, I don't know how super, super involved or super in the church Steve Harvey is, but I would probably guess he was super Christian or super spiritual. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But he is being tested. He may literally be having that. He may literally be having those thoughts in his mind, like, oh my God, everybody is evil. Or he may be feeling that way whenever it pertains to um, Marjorie. But either way, that's kind of like where he's coming from. Um, where is it? What was it? 13 degrees. Yeah. Aimlessness. Remember, I said prior to that it could be a situation where he may not want to give her a divorce, and this may not necessarily be the first time around the merry-go-round. you know so he may be, and for maybe another side of this could be he may be very well aware of what she has going on outside of whenever they are not together. So the aimlessness for him, it could be coming from a place of like it doesn't really matter like what you say at this point. I'm not gonna let her go. I mean, right now it kind of possibly is coming through in a manner of, I mean, I haven't looked at the seventh house from Venus, but just based off where I'm looking at right now, he may be like super, super into her, but it may not be the same. It may not really be truly reciprocated. And again, maybe he's starting to see more and more of her not reciprocating that love that he has given her, because we know Leo likes to rule from the heart. So whenever a Leo's heart is broken, you're A, gonna hear about it, or B, you're going to see about it. One of the two. Both of them may happen, but one of the two is going to happen. So let's look seventh from him. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So seventh from Steve Harvey is Saturn. So Saturn and Pisces, look how both of the planets are retrograde. Saturn and Pisces is signifying Marjorie in this particular chart. And guess what? They're not connecting. These two may be separated already, or they've been separated possibly for some time, maybe during C19. That could have possibly been whenever they were separated, or somebody may have been planning for a separation during that particular time, whenever the pandemic was around, because he's far off. Okay, I don't know, Italy or something like that. He's somewhere, and she's fourth. Oh, okay. So maybe we're in a particular time period where he may possibly want to go, and it could be because he's seen possibly the truth. And you see how she's in the fourth house of home, and we know Saturn is Saturn is Saturn. But Saturn, the fourth house, is not good, because for the fourth house is naturally tied to Cancer, right? And we know Saturn is in detriment in Cancer, because Cancer's sister sign is Capricorn, and Saturn's home is Capricorn and Aquarius. So Cancer or Saturn don't really like dealing with Cancer. Why? I don't know. I mean, if we think about the story again of Artemis, Saturn may not necessarily, you know, thrive when it comes to Cancer, because it's just like too damn emotional. I don't understand. Not saying that the moon is lazy, but maybe Saturn sees the moon as too lazy. You don't value hard work. You value your emotions, or using your emotions all the time instead of thinking through intellect. The moon is selfish, so that could be another thing as well, that why Saturn may not necessarily like being in a moon rule sign, because you see how the moon's in detriment in Saturn right now in Capricorn. So that could be kind of some of the reasons. Um and changeable. And maybe Saturn doesn't really care too much for that moon ruled energy, because you can't get a handle on the moon, because the moon is always changing. And it's like Saturn kind of gives you that energy where it's just like, I'll stay here. It's like, as long as I know what to expect. But because you don't know necessarily what to expect from the moon, it makes you feel unsettled. The moon is unsettling to Saturn. I don't like it. So we may be, like I said, in that particular energy where maybe this time around, you know, he's kind of trying to move forward. He is He could be possibly turning over a new leaf, and maybe in terms of his spirituality or something like that. Like, it just feels like he's awakening in some sort of a way to me. Um, and mm-mm, and she's not. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, so when Saturn is in the fourth house, it can harm relationships and it can be bad for business, or it can harm business matters. It kind of gives me that energy of somebody who um sign a contract in business, knowing good and hell well they're not going to fulfill the contract, and then now the partner has to do all this, rummaging around, scounging around to try to fix the crap that Saturn in the fourth house that messed up. Okay, because of course Saturn is a malefic planet. Malefic planets are Saturn, Mars, what's the other one? What's the other one? I think Mercury, because Venus, Jupiter, Moon are benefic, and Sun may be malefic, but we're gonna check on that later. But anyway, so when Saturn is in the fourth house, you may experience hard times, financial crisis, adverse circumstances, and you may be afraid of breaking relationships with the mother and the wife. Look what's going on. Because the nature of Saturn is malefic, it affects the native in various aspects of their life. Saturn is also responsible for bringing adversary in one's life. Therefore, the natives may lose their financial assets, land, comforts, and other luxury essentials. This is my opinion. I think maybe the evil conditions or the evilness that he's feeling at some point, he may have found out some very unsettling or damaging information when it possibly pertains to what Marjorie has been up to financially. It's like it's not about the sex. At this point, it almost feels like financial betrayal that's been going on behind your back. I mean, that you may, it's almost like one of those things like, you may forgive cheating, but financial betrayal, that's where I draw the line, especially if I've been nothing but good to you. Ugh. The only aspect Saturn is making right now is to the sun. Okay. Um, Let me go look at the degree of Saturn. Saturn is in Pisces on the third degree. The third degree is tied to Gemini. So there could be some talking behind the back. Okay. But also the third degree or Gemini or Mercury, pardon me, is gossip. Success, wealth, often very hard work and responsibility. This is Fomalhaut. Actually, let's go to fixed signs right here. Pisces. Watcher of the South, congenital birth defects, magic, fame, occult, fave star. She always, and that may be another thing as well that we're looking at when it pertains to these two. She always wanted to be famous. She maybe always wanted to be a star. Isn't she from the South? If she's from the South, then we may be in for something because the fixed star conjunct Marjorie or Saturn does signify from the South. Okay, unless she's thinking about returning home to the South or remember something about the past, because the fourth house, Cancer, fourth house, your family roots, your past. So something about the past could be involved in the betrayal here that Steve Harvey may have possibly found out. Because look, um the loss of marriage is six. So we look six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this is a wash. Because sixth from Steve Harvey or six from Venus is Saturn or Capricorn. Okay. And seventh from Steve Harvey is Saturn again. So, hmm. Ah, boy. Let's look at the moon. Wait. Venus square Jupiter. Hold on. Something about the South, I mean, something about the past when it pertains to Marjorie is possibly an issue here. And again, it may be the missing link or the connecting link in some sort of manner why these two are maybe having some issues. because and he spent a lot of money on her because Venus square Jupiter is somebody who is the big spender when it comes to they will remortgage their house to give you what you want. That's kind of like where we're at. However, for him, this has possibly came back and maybe bit him in the face or in the butt. Okay? Because this here screams overindulgence. So remember, like I said, I don't think sex or fair what is really the issue. It's the money at this particular point. You have possibly betrayed, okay, in some sort of way. Because you see, she's looking directly at her career. She kind of gives me that energy of somebody where thank God she is not in a government position because she would probably sell state secrets and we would all be in trouble. Not very diplomatic whatsoever. Okay, Saturn. Well, here's the thing. He could have also wanted somebody that he could take care of because this again, I don't know why I decided to do two people that give me Saturn square sun screaming daddy issues. Okay. Um so in this particular instance, okay, he is maybe having a he's having some sort of realization when it pertains to his relationship with Marjorie. She's not wanting to leave because Saturn square Sun can also be somebody who can be relentless in overcoming whatever obstacles or limitations they encounter. Okay? But she is feeling some sort of pressure. She's feeling something. I wonder. Let me go to Virgo. Where is it? Sun in Virgo 4 degrees. Asthma, quick response, noble instincts. So she's gonna put on a brave face without a doubt, without question. Okay, good for her. But she's just worried about showing that she's strong, relentless. I hate to say it, I can almost see her playing the victim in this situation. So this is interesting. So I'm actually going to let me see. All right, I wonder what cards. I'm going to pull a few cards actually for this one. Um, okay, so this is what we got. We have two eights, so very karmic, which is what I was thinking about anyway. So we have Eight of Swords and we have the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. One of them does not want to be married anymore, or they just don't want to have any parts in this particular situation anymore. And here, okay, I mean, man, honestly, I wouldn't put it past Steve Harvey to have him a little bit of a tenderoni as well, who he's kind of like overindulging in. But for him, it does. But for me, when it pertains to him, it does give very, you know, I will take a lot of crap, but I might let you slide once or twice. But this again feels like you are a continuously repeat offender. Because the Eight of Swords just gives me not time to move forward yet. Could even be it may even be maybe I mean I wouldn't even be surprised if they're possibly makes think of negotiating phase and like until we can get to a good point in terms of the negotiation, then I guess we're just going to be here suffering. Okay, but I think in a way she's staying, but maybe also she's staying because she knows if she goes that she may not necessarily get much. Okay, of course he has the money, he's the big spender, he's the overindulger, she does not have the money. Okay, so feeling again like I said with the Eight of Swords, feeling stuck. Okay, it's a headache, it may possibly feel like being in a headache. when it pertains to in this relationship. So I'm gonna pull a few more cards and see if she has cheated on him. Um, okay, so on this one, in terms of if she has cheated on Steve Harvey, um, I'm actually getting a no. As of right now, it looks like it's a no. But in the past, we've had some issues in terms of her literally being unable to let go of the past. It feels like she was still in contact with somebody from the past who she either has kids with or she was supposed to have kids with, but something unfortunately happened to the baby. Oh, hold on. I'm going to pull just a few more. Oh boy. Yeah. So as of right now, um, I guess it just depends on what you consider cheating. Because when I pull some more cards here, she's being aroused. She's arousing somebody, or somebody is arousing her. But I don't think they've engaged in the act in that manner. But I do feel like that there was something that happened in the past. So again, we have a repeat offender. It doesn't seem like that this is somebody that is brand spanking new. There may have been, like I said, who knows, way, 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 way back, 2006, 2016. It could go back that particular far, just from what I'm picking up. And now it's circling the block again. But the years I gave could have also been the years whenever these two could have been like really at the point where, like, you know what, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. But definitely arousal is coming up really strongly whenever it pertains to her, and this could be somebody back in her home place, somebody hundreds of miles away from her. I would think so, but these two are not connecting, like I said, which means I again these two could be separated or just not together at this particular point, because something has happened. So like I said, I probably just have to do um dang it. I was not showing you guys the tab. Okay, sorry. This is what I was saying. You see, she's in the fourth house. Saturn is making an aspect to the sun. Okay. Um, I didn't realize that. I was saying here that Steve Harvey is Venus and he's making a square to Jupiter, but he is, big spender. He's the indulger. Okay. She ain't got nothing. I'm gonna be honest. She's gotten the wealth and the power from him though, because she is making an opposition to the sun in the 10th house, figure, public figure. I mean, she's a public figure now, we get that, but she's not stepping how Steve Harvey is stepping, if we're just going to be honest. She's just not. But she's remember I said before, she is remaining there. She's not going anywhere. So I think they've, like I said, they've switched. At one point, he didn't want her to go anywhere, but now he may not really be too effed up about it, but she is. She could be still. She may be effed up about it, but the past is a culprit. There's a culprit here. Okay. But that's just my opinion. I did not realize I was not sharing the chart. But yeah, so I didn't dive too super deep into the situation, but that's kind of like where what I'm feeling on this particular situation when it comes to Steve Harvey and Marjorie. Um I mean, honestly, again, even though her signifier in this chart is on a very powerful degree in Pisces, with her being in the fourth house, it is again, um, it's a it. maybe it could be an abuse of power, or it could be maybe karma is coming to collect because you've possibly abused something, someone, maybe in some sort of way, mentally, emotionally, or financially, so that you can so that your star can rise, and you got to pay for that. It doesn't matter when karma comes around. Eventually, it's gonna find your ass hiding in the cracks somewhere. And that may be kind of like what we're looking at when it pertains to Marjorie. But I just feel like he found out something, and maybe she's been cut off because she's not connected to him whatsoever in this particular chart. Okay. Um, Even if we assigned Steve Harvey the first house and we assigned Marjorie the seventh house, they are not connecting. They actually left an aspect from one another. And he's at fall in Libra now. And if we want to do it that way, but I don't see her overindulging, and I don't see that. So even if we switch it around, they're still not connected, you know? Um so are they getting a divorce? From what I'm seeing, are they getting a divorce? No, but something has happened. It feels like some sort of betrayal has happened. But I don't see a divorce happening. She's staying. She's here. Okay, he's all the way over here, another country. Shoot, again, he himself may be overindulging in um I'm gonna say it. He may be overindulging in a younger woman. She could be like around 40. Should be a little bit younger than that. But yeah. Let's questions. Oh well, just me. They both may Saturn may be coming to collect for both of them. Actually, let's see. Is Steve Harvey in his Saturn return? Now that we're talking about it, because I think if he's the same age as my dad, he's in his Saturn return. Um, where is Saturn at? Oh, he already went through his Saturn return, did he? A couple years ago. He's 50. Jesus Christ. I mean, excuse me. He is old. There's nothing wrong with being old, but I didn't realize he was as old as he is. 57. He has to be in his 60s, right? Here, oh, let me show you guys what I'm looking at. Um, yeah, he has Saturn in Sagittarius. His Saturn is making an aspect to Aquarius. But he has Venus ascendant, oh yeah, he's always going to be overindulging on his he's always going to be overindulging on his wives or something like that. Jupiter, oh, we have another Jupiter in Libra, people. I didn't realize that till now. Steve Harvey has Jupiter in Libra. Moon's dispositor. His moon's dispositor. So we have Moon in Leo. So Sun in Capricorn. Oh, greedy. Dang. Well, because remember we talked about how your sun sign can also be where you limit yourself. Greed, jealousy. So Saturn still may be coming to collect at this particular point in time, because remember, like I said in the horary chart, remember I said here he may be coming to terms, or he may be going through an awakening where the people or the entertainers or whoever it is, people that he overindulged in, he helped pay for them, they don't give a crap about him. So he may be learning a harsh lesson in a way when it pertains to like, and it may be a harsh lesson, because if you gave that money out of pure intentions, of course you're going to get that money back. But if you gave that money in a way of like jealousy, maybe you gave money maybe in a manner to see them fall, or maybe you gave money but you weren't pure about it. You really didn't want them to make it, you know? Or who knows, something about you giving money and just screaming greed. Who knows if that was what's happening? Then look at where you are, because Pluto is retrograding through Capricorn right now, right? Meaning that it's hitting his sun. Pluto is hitting his sun, it's probably hitting his Mercury, it's probably hitting his Venus. And let's see about that, shall we? Um I think it's like at 28 degrees right now. Oh yeah, his Pluto is sitting right on top of his sun right now. I need to look up this right here. Doesn't really seem good. Oh yeah, when transit Pluto forms a conjunction atop your natal sun, which is what Steve Harvey is going through right now, you may be going through a major life-changing experience with deep and lasting change. So this is retrograde. So something that should have been either taken or fall or I guess deleted from his life whenever Pluto was in Capricorn, it's now in his retrograde. It's like the final it's the final countdown. It could be like that because you may even feel like your life is falling apart or something is breaking down, but it's a part of something needs to be renewed. Maybe something, a part of your life or something that you've been doing has been unclean. It's very interesting because he has Sun in conjunct Pluto, meaning that power is not something that he would do well with because it is an unfamiliar feeling. Remember, I talked about in Jonathan Major's chart where fame for him is an unfamiliar feeling. So he's going to struggle with that. Power for Steve Harvey is an unfamiliar feeling. And whenever something is unfamiliar with for you, but you want it, I can see you doing some stupid stuff because you're trying. It's like it feels like that person where they come right in, they're just barking orders and they're doing all this stupid stuff just to prove that they're a leader. It's like, bro, will you shut up? True leaders are born. You can make a leader, but a true leader is born. They know that abuse of power, it doesn't work. People don't respond to stuff like that. And I think that's what we have here. This is somebody who wanted to be a leader, but they weren't born to be a leader. Maybe in some sort of manner, he was born to be a follower. However, maybe to get to the place that he got, remember, his sun in Capricorn is his limitation. So greed. I'm looking at him very differently now. And that's unfortunate because you don't need to step on the little guy. So I think I remember way, way back. Was it Bernie? If Bernie Mac ever complained about Steve Harvey or he ever complained about somebody stopping something, we might be looking at the culprit right now, allegedly. Because I was on my Facebook the other day and a video, one of my favorite videos of Bernie Mac popped up whenever he was on the Oprah show. And he was talking about, I don't really care about anybody else. I'm here to better me. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing because I'm out to be a better me. So it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what they say. As long as I'm being better for myself, who gives a shit? My time will come. And that always just screams so much volume to me. Like I understand him to the T. But like I said, we may be looking at the culprit here if he ever complained about something like that. 66? Oh my god, he's getting up there. Just me, I agree. And I actually think that could be what is happening right now. But it could be why I said there has been some sort of betrayal that has gone on because I think that she may possibly be in that mindset because she may be ready to get out, but you've kind of like and she may have already had like a little bit of something built up. But I think he found out about it. So now it's like you're really in trouble. Now he's going to hold something over your head because now, if that's the case, he probably found out that, oh, you trying to sneak me. And she really could be doing it so that she could be done. Oh yeah, I, that's my opinion on the matter. I think we may have found the snake in this situation when it pertains to if this was an issue between Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac. I think we may have found the snake. And that's really unfortunate because he's a good guy. And you see how, well, it seems to me he's a good guy. It's a purity. Even whenever it's like he is not being his best self, he's going to tell you about that. And he's not going to shy away from that because he knows that there is room for improvement. You don't get a lot of people like that in this world. So to screw him over, I can't imagine, you know, what karma would be coming your way. Uh, okay, so do you guys have any questions since I do have Steve Harvey's chart on the screen? Do you guys have any questions about it that you want me to look at? Since I did take a look at his chart a little bit, I'll make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see. You see all those squares in there? Woo! But he has quite a few in conjunct. So we can say, because Sun Pluto is power, and we know Capricorn is the CEO, it is the boss. So him being the boss is an unnatural position for him. He may not really be that great of a boss. I mean, he's okay, but he may not really be that great. Not possibly as great as what he's trying to portray. Looks like his Pluto is on the last degrees of Leo. Yeah, 29 degrees Leo. We know Leo, the 29th degree of Leo is a powerful degree, you know. Um I'm curious if his moon or his Jupiter makes an aspect to his midhaven, but right now it doesn't look like it does. Look, his moon is making no aspects to Jupiter. Jupiter's making no aspects to moon nor the midhaven. Remember I said that's what you need when it comes to being popular. This totally screams somebody where that's just my opinion. This screams to me somebody where they're not supposed to be in the spot that they're in. It wasn't God given to them, if you know what I'm saying. You know how you just have some people where it's just like it was just divinely guided for them to be a president, for them to be a celebrity. I'm not really getting that when it pertains to him. Greed guided him, maybe. Jealousy possibly guided him. And I guess that could be a way to get to where you need to be. And then, of course, he has the 29th degree of his Pluto. Okay, that's cool. And he has Moon 17 degrees Leo. 17 degrees Leo is a popularity degree. I get that. Um, oh, and Uranus, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Like of course you have the potential to be famous, but not everybody is meant to be famous in that regard. And it's just something about him, it just seems like that you're just not supposed to be there. Like maybe there was something else, like probably owning a business, but not like whatever you're doing now. I don't know why I kind of get that from him. So if that's the case, then you may have somebody who steps on a lot of people's toes, but also may be somebody who kind of possibly smiles in your face about it. Um, it just doesn't give me. It just doesn't give me warm. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I know I'm not crazy. Oh, I didn't know his real name was Broderick. I didn't know that. So what day was he born on? The 17th. Look at that. Saturn in Sagittarius. Ugh, giving us nothing. Saturn in Sagittarius, 10 degrees, 59 seconds. I don't know. I can't explain it, but I think you guys kind of like can understand what I'm saying. You know when you just have a feeling about somebody where it's just like, why are you here? Some of you work with people like that. You're just like, why are you here? Like you don't even like why? It don't make any sense. Like you didn't earn it whatsoever. Well, that's fine. I'm not taking away anything from him because that's good. That's good to break down a barrier and stuff like that. But something about this just doesn't sit right with me. Um, Booyah, that makes sense. His Saturn is on the 10th degree of Sagittarius, which talks about strategy, aggressive, ambitious, makes enemies, dangerous, premature ending. What I say? I just had an inkling. I had an inkling. And as he gets older, his Saturn is going to be more profound, if that makes sense. It's going to scream louder because Saturn rules old age. Okay. So, him getting older, his Saturn is going to start screaming louder and louder and louder. I wouldn't be surprised if there may, I don't know, a story or something like that may possibly be brewing about that as he gets older, 72, 75, something like that. So we got a while. We got a while. I mean, Pluto is going to move into Aquarius, so his Pluto is going to be making contact with his Scorpio North Node and his Scorpio Neptune. So what we got with that? I'm learning, guys. I'm learning every day about transits and stuff like that. So Pluto. That's probably going to be a sextile because it's pretty close. Yeah, whenever transit Pluto is making a connection to North Node, which is what's going to happen whenever it starts to move into Aquarius. Um, you know, this may be someone who the truths about their underlying drives, needs, or patterns or behavior will be revealed. But I was just talking about this, wasn't I? Relationships are the vehicle through which karmic lessons are delivered. Challenges are brought to the surface through relationship losses or power struggles. You're giving the chance to overcome unconscious patterns which have undermined you in the past. You will be given the opportunity to embrace your shadow self as your inner turmoil and unresolved wounds are brought to the light. So when Pluto moves into Aquarius, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be seeing the downfall of Steve Harvey or there's going to be something unsettling possibly that may happen or could be coming out pertaining to truths around his drive, his needs, or his certain behaviors, or even truths about relationships when Pluto starts to make a connection to his North Node in Scorpio. Pluto won't be direct in Aquarius till next year. So like, we're just going to have to, who knows? Okay. Um, and let me go back. And this to his Neptune is probably going to be it probably still be considered a sextile. So his transit Pluto will be making an aspect, at least for some time, to his his Scorpio Neptune. So what is that one about? I mean, we know Scorpio can take you to the underworld. So I hate to say it, almost screams like that he may start losing his mind. During this transit, you will become less driven by materialistic concerns and you're trying to conform with societal definitions of success. You will feel more interested in penetrating into understanding deeper questions. Pastor, preacher, we may be on that type of time. He's fighting demons. I think that may signify the transits that Steve Harvey could be going through whenever Pluto moves into Aquarius. He's going to be fighting demons. It's not going to be a fun time for him. So I hope he's ready. And this may just be the leftover gunk that he has not worked through. So now that life is slowing down, Yes, it's starting to get real. This is what happens whenever you do not deal with your shit during the times that you need to deal with your shit. So some of you that be up in arms about nothing is going on and you're complaining, you need to be using that time to be going through your shit, or you too could be losing your mind. And it's not going to be fun. This is my opinion. So guys, we have been at this for almost 2 hours, even though I always say that, and then it's y'all's fault. It's y'all's fault because I think energetically speaking, you guys be like sending me telepathic signals and just like, oh yes, just talk for a couple hours. So yes, this has been the readings when it pertains to KeKe Palmer as well as Steve Harvey. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like the video and all that good stuff on your way out, and I will see you guys